Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time you're listening to us. This is Reckless Speculation. We are back after the holiday break. Joining us from below is Brandon Jane, and joining us beside me is Tom Sloan. Raj Mehta is trying to get elected Speaker of the House, so he's going to be a little late. Um, we're going to try to be a little more organized than those people are. So, gentlemen, I am glad to be back with you guys. We, like the rest of society, took a little holiday break. What's new, Brandon? We still have not learned how to work the mute button, though.
Well, it muted me on the intro, so I thought it would unmute me. Somehow it didn't this time. But
It
anyway,
should have. It should have.
yeah, it's all good. No, just like anybody else, after a long holiday, trying to get back in the swing of things, get caught back up, a little sluggish on the first day back to work and trying to keep pace and, get a little momentum going. So, but good holidays overall. We had a great Christmas and, family, friends, everybody's good. So what about you guys?
Great. We saw you and our friend Dave teed it up a little bit over the holidays. But no, everything's good here. Tom, what about you?
Low key, stayed home with the wife, and unfortunately, didn't have the greatest of New Year's Eves. So, we'll just leave that at that. But
no, we're not leaving it at that. We're getting.
We'll leave that.
We will get to that.
We'll leave.
I wasn't even. I was trying to keep sports out of it, Tom. It's about the family at this point.
I know. But other than that, I was telling you guys, I went back in the office this week for the first time in 2 years, so that was weird. So it's going to start coming more regularly, so which is a good thing. It's a cool place to be. So, but other than that, no, it's been low key, and been looking forward to getting this ball rolling again. And here we are tonight, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on a variety of topics, like we always do. We made a conscious decision amongst the group. We will touch on Damar Hamlin as we talk about the NFL. None of us are doctors, and it's been his diagnosis has been talked about by people smarter than us. We all watched it together. We all texted about it together. We're all hoping, obviously, for a great recovery. News has been good so far, and so we hope that. But we're gonna talk sports, and then when we get in the NFL section, we're gonna talk about him and how sports reacts to it. But I think it's been said, and the whole sports world is pretty much on the same page about this topic, and so we're all hoping, and for those who praying for his recovery, and so we definitely have him in mind, and so there's no easy transition. With that being said, we got a Michigan man and Ohio State man, and one
sad.
What an by far the best semifinals entertainment wise we've had.
Probably the best in the history of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, there was no blowout. They were both entertaining games. I want to start with Tom because Tom was expecting a victory.
Yeah.
And so, Tom, how did this feel? What were your thoughts? TCU obviously got up. Michigan kept coming back. And then what were you thinking throughout the game?
Well, I mean, we'll start with the first play of the game. Donovan Edwards goes for like 65 right up the gut. I thought, here we go. I mean, here we go. And then obviously they get the ball within the 5. And that has been a problem for Michigan this year in several games. So they go for it on 4th down with the most ridiculous trick play. I don't even know what playbook they pulled that out of. And I think that set the tone. That showed.
Was that not supposed to be like the Philly special?
I don't know. You take
at it for sure.
You call a timeout, and that's what you draw up. I was baffled. Everybody here at Speakeasy was baffled. Like, I don't get it. So now you gave TCU a lot of confidence. And if there's one thing that team has had this year is they're battle tested. They've been told they're not good enough. And I think that's become their kind of MO. So moving forward, just mistake after mistake. And TCU capitalized on it. The pick six early, so they go up 14-0. I think they took the momentum. In Michigan, I think they felt like they had this game in the bag. And is it 5 weeks of them being off, not playing, kind of a momentum killer? Maybe. And because they were not prepared. They were outcoached in every aspect of the game. I will hit on the officiating, and I think Brandon will do the same thing. I'm never going to be one to blame officials for a loss because that wasn't the case, but they impacted this game. The reverse touchdown in that first half, I think that took a lot of wind out of Michigan's sails.
Well, they fumbled the next play. So
the very next play, they fumble, and then TCU takes it down. So it got in their heads. And Michigan statistically is a second half team, and they did not show that Saturday night. So they did not make the adjustments defensively, which was shocking to me. They did offensively. They put up some gaudy numbers in the third quarter, but so did TCU. So they weren't ever able to eclipse them. But say what you will, at the end of the game, did it change the impact of the game? The fact that that targeting call was not made, who knows? Michigan would have had 15 more yards. They would have put time on the clock. Who knows? And but the fact of the matter is, the officiating was absolutely abysmal. We have a really close friend who's a Division III referee. I won't mention his name because he's not allowed to have his name mentioned. But he knows who he is. He'd sat back and he was just shaking his head saying, this is embarrassing. 3 flags were thrown that were picked up. That's a huge problem. Roughing the passer on TCU that absolutely was not roughing the passer. The referees couldn't get out of their own way. I felt like they were trying to do too much. And I just think TCU was able to capitalize on the mistakes that Michigan made. And they didn't go in there afraid. They went in there expecting to win. And I just you saw a different look, especially in JJ McCarthy's eyes. For the first time this year, he looked like he might have been slightly lost. And when he threw that interception for a touchdown, the first one, that stung him. And I think he wore that throughout the game. And the running game, they could not get it together. The TCU defensive line absolutely owned the number one offensive line in college football. They looked like the worst college offensive line in college football. Is that coaching? Is that preparation? I don't know. But the bottom line is Michigan didn't deserve the win. The blown touchdown that was called off, which was a touchdown, by the way, and there wasn't one angle that told me otherwise, and everybody that was watching agreed.
That was one of the worst calls I've ever.
I know. I don't see how you can mess up replay. Like, it's video replay.
Exactly.
Everyone can watch it and see, and then it still gets messed up. So
to
I don't understand.
To hear Joe Klatt.
So Tom, I'm going to ask you two more points to hit on. Then we're going to go to the Ohio State fan about the Michigan game. So my two takeaways from the game were Michigan within the 5-yard line left 21 points on the board, or give or take 21 points. The second was coaching for the month. Harbaugh won. coaching on the day Sonny Dykes worked him. And what I mean by that first play, Harbaugh knew what they were going to line up into. Boom, right out the gate. Oh, and then TCU adjusted and Michigan never seemed to. What do you think about those two things?
I agree. And Michigan got caught in their usual vanilla style offense, the delay handoff up the middle. They were forcing the run, and it just wasn't there. And when they were going downfield through the air, it was working, but they just refused to stop, to not keep trying with the run game. And I think that falls into the arrogance category that Jim Harbaugh, suffers from, as far as I'm concerned. If it's not working, you got to do something else. Bottom line.
Brandon and I call that Titan football.
Right. So
run over and over again on first down, and then
clearly
stuff into a bad place.
This was like Fulmer in like 2000 or 99. It was running up the middle.
Yeah. And clearly Sonny Dykes knew what they were doing, and their D coordinator was dialed in and was making the right call. They were selling out on the run, and it worked. They gave up a lot of points through the air, but their goal was to shut down the run. And JJ McCarthy going to the press conference saying, we're bringing the Big Ten to the Big 12. I think TCU took that as a challenge. Like, all right, you big boy football, we're going to shut you down at the line of scrimmage. And games are won and lost in the trenches, bottom line.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, both sides of the ball, TCU dominated the trenches, and that's why they're playing next Monday and Michigan's not.
Yeah. All right. So, Brandon, first, a yes or no question, then an open-ended question. So, we live in SEC country, and for some inexplicable reason, SEC teams root for their rivals in these games. I don't understand it, but they do. So, one, are you rooting for Michigan in that game or against Michigan? And then two, give me your overall thoughts of that game and what was your outlook on it?
I'll never root for Michigan, first off. Sorry. I love Tom. He's a good buddy, but no, absolutely not rooting for Michigan. Second, man, it comes down, like you guys said, coaching, the preparation, I think is a big deal. Like, you made a really great point. Like, I think Harbaugh won the month, but tried to stick to the guns on what his game plan was and didn't make adjustments. I've seen that play. I know how it ends. That's the same thing we did against Michigan. Like, we did the exact same thing. We stayed in cover zero, no adjustments, the whole spill. I'm not going to get back down that road. But that's what I saw from Michigan, which was surprising. I thought Michigan, not an easy win, but I thought they would pull it out, probably 5-7 point, win over TCU. Overall, I thought they were the better team, but, just not that day. There's something to be said about an underdog and people that are willing to die by the sword at that point. Like, they don't get clammed up and they don't get uncomfortable. Like, when you get in certain situations and you're supposed to win and you're supposed to do this or do that, it's just like that, whatever the Philly special play they tried to call, like, just go back to your roots and do what you've been doing all year. Don't try and think outside the box at this point and do something different. Just even
play
your game. And
even the reverse touchdown, the next play. Yeah. They take their breadwinner off the field.
Yeah, I mean,
and they bring it in their third string running back.
And I'll get into that in our game because we did the exact same thing on the very last drive. So we'll get into that. But I don't understand what it is with, pressure's a real deal and momentum as well. And not only on the players but the coaches in big time moments and big time situations. Sometimes these coaches try and outsmart themselves and think outside the box when it's not necessary. Like, line up, do your game plan, or nothing special. Just, read the field, read the defense, whatever, and put a normal play out there. You don't have to like do all these reverse, like crazy stuff. So some of that is definitely coaching. I was pulling for Tom. I wanted him to be happy, but like I said, I can never root for Michigan. It's not in my blood. But I felt bad for Tom because I thought it was a for sure win. But hey, let's give TCU some credit. These guys had a lot of fight in them.
They deserve it. And
hey,
Matt Duggan, I heard some people bagging on him because he was like 14.
Dude is all heart.
He is a warrior. I want him on my team. I want him on my team. He's a leader.
And I'm pulling for him. I hope they win it all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and so my quick takeaways, and to go back to the analogy of Harbaugh won the month, Dykes won the game. Harbaugh, you had those 15 plays or what all scripted. They went through. When he called that timeout, he didn't have a goal line play ready. And then to pull it out, I think that's when TCU was like, they're scared of us too. Like we're equals, or we can beat them because they don't have a plan. And I think that was just a mental breakdown. And then the whole team kind of either subliminally not looked at Harbaugh like, what was that? Like, that was a terrible play call. We should be more physical. If it's go for it on third and go for it on fourth, just it was just a bad play. Mm-hmm. All right, we're flipping to the other Big Ten team, who a heartbreak in a different fashion. Brandon, the Buckeyes, they looked every bit like that 2014 Buckeye team that got in and is going to prove the world we deserve to be in. Mm-hmm. What were you doing during the game, and what was your thought process?
I was here at the house with the family. I can't watch those kind of big games out in public, so I tend to stay home. Man, we were dominating the game. I felt really good about it. We were throwing at will, almost scoring at will, and moving the ball. Georgia was keeping up, for the most part, but a couple turnovers, a couple missed field goals by them, put us ahead. And I was feeling really good coming in. That fourth quarter stretch, I think Ransom fell down. Georgia hit a big play quick, wide open. And let's just be honest, I am not a Stetson Bennett fan. Like, he's like an 8th year senior or whatever there. And like, I'm just not a fan of this guy. Like, everyone is all over, like, he's so good.
He's so smug. You just want to squeeze his face.
So him and Kirby Smart both just not fans of. Anyway, that was a big momentum change. And then the 4th down timeout by Kirby Smart when we did a fake punt, and he called timeout right at that. I don't know what he saw or what made him call that timeout.
Well, he saw the center all the way on the left, and only one tackle next to him. Everybody was lined up on the right.
Yeah,
so somebody up top noticed it.
Yeah, he said post game that I can't remember. A few years back, it happened to him, and he's like, now they're hyper focused on anything irregular. They call timeout, and just say better safe than sorry. So if you want to sneak get a timeout from them, line up something irregular, they'll do it. But that was
it was a big momentum, stopper right there as well.
And it's one of these, if you line up with that, they call timeout. No, they've got you.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with it,
No.
They had their chance, and it was a beautifully ran play. And
it was a great play call. But then after that, I mean, you got to punt. I mean, there's no, and then after that, go to add the score. potential targeting call on Marvin Harrison. Personally, I don't think it was targeting, but the fact that we even have to discuss it is an issue because there's no definitive. I've seen that play call in several other games called targeting 1,000 times.
He was defenseless.
He was
He was
defenseless.
defenseless.
But and the other guy did leave with the crown of his helmet, but it didn't hit him in the head. It hit him in the shoulder.
Remember,
So, like, where do you
remember
draw
in
the line?
2019, Clemson, Ohio State, when the Clemson linebacker lowered his crown and hit Justin Fields right in the small of his back. That was called. That was called targeting.
That's what I'm saying.
That
there is no definitive answer of what targeting is. Nobody
and after Saturday, there's definitely no definitive.
Yeah, it was 100% more targeting on the Michigan player than it was on Marvin Harrison. Now, unfortunately, I'm not even. I agree with the call. Like, I would be upset if I was on the other side and it was called targeting because I didn't think it was targeting. But regardless, like I said, even the fact that it's a conversation is a problem. Like, there needs to be a definitive answer there.
Sure.
Aside from that, it sucks that he got taken out on concussion protocol because that really, really hindered us a little bit. So then we get down on the fourth quarter, we're making our run and we're throwing the ball, we're moving the ball at will. Then we get across and we're in field goal range. And then Brian Day decides to run the ball 3 times in a row. I almost lost it. Like, what are you doing? That's what I'm saying. Like, the pressure like sets in and he was so worried. He was trying to play not to lose instead of playing to win. No, he's playing not to lose. Yeah. He didn't want to have a turnover instead of just letting let CJ Stroud and whatever 3rd, 4th string receivers we got. We've been dominating the pass game all day. Like, why are you trying to run those 3 times in a row and then give us a 50-yard field goal? Like,
those crossing routes on the second level, CJ Stroud was hitting those all day long.
Georgia did not
figure that out. And
I said before the game too, as long as our offensive line holds up and gives CJ's time, I said he will pick them apart in the secondary, and that's exactly what he did.
So I'm going to go to Tom, but I want to come back to you, Brandon, on this, and maybe Tom can touch on it too. Is this also is this problem of like Harbaugh and Ryan Day, obviously greatly successful coaches, but are these kind of in-game blunders also a problem or a byproduct of who they play against in the regular season, which is they can make these coaching blunders, but they're more talented than everyone they play besides each other?
I think that's a fair question. I mean, because like going back to my point earlier with TCU, these guys have been playing playoff football probably the last 6 weeks of their season. And each game was tough, half of them on the road. And they were, a couple of them, they were down to the wire. So they were playing elite competition for the majority of their season. You flip over and you look at Michigan. It's no secret their schedule was pretty soft this year. I was very opposed to it. I was very critical to it, and I thought it would be one thing that bit them in the ass in the end. But it makes sense that they weren't tested except for the Illinois game, really, and they really took it to them. So I think there's something to be said of a team that really is tested. They know their limits. They know what they need to do to fix their issues. And you look back.
I never thought about it until Brandon was talking about the pressure is real in the game, and it does make some sense that.
No, you go like, even as a coach, like, you black out and you were almost get like so protective, like, okay, we're and you don't play for you've got, contracts and things on your mind of, am I going to get fired if I lose this? All these other things going through your head. Not to mention, Ryan Day is the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Now, when you get in a big game like this, in that situation, and you're trying to oversee every single position coach at that time, and then it's all of a sudden you got to focus on the offense and call plays, and then like really, like you can't hardly remember your game plan, like when you get in those high pressure situations. And that is why I think after this year, he announced that he is no longer going to be the play caller. He's going to have an offense coordinator, because he understands that he buckled in that pressure. Like he could not focus enough to do that.
All right. So sorry, we went long on that discussion. I didn't give Tom enough time. I apologize. Bad hosting. But so I want to ask you guys almost a rhetorical question, but almost does this come into effect? Or do you think about this? Because in hindsight, looking back on it now, Michigan almost won and Ohio State almost won. Now, if they would have played for the championship, so that is a ESPN, ABC, Disney. That's a ratings bonanza for the game. Mm-hmm. But the week leading up to it, that's a horrible ratings for them. Does that does that ever factor into y'all's mind? Like, because the last thing ESPN wants is the Fox Sports channel getting all the Big Ten. We're talking about those teams. Like, does that factor into it? And because there were 2 questionable calls in each game that both went against the Big Ten, and although the refs are neutral, look, we know who's writing the checks.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a fair question. Does it factor into why I think we lost the game? No. I was definitely rooting for a Big Ten national championship. I thought it would have been just awesome. Obviously, a rematch with Michigan. I think, we play Michigan 10 times. It's going to be pretty much a coin flip this year. So I really wanted that rematch, but does it play in? I mean, I get what you're saying in the back channels,
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm just saying.
Oh, I mean, how happy would I be to see their, sure, to see their faces? Yeah, I'd be ecstatic, but
that would have been a dream matchup. I mean, because that was probably something that you never thought would ever happen. Looking at obviously playing in the same division, the same.
That's what I'm saying. Same division, same conference,
and this was the first time that theoretically it could have happened.
Exactly.
And do I think Michigan got caught looking ahead? I absolutely do. They had
100%.
I do too.
They
100%.
They gave.
I think Michigan's a better team.
They're clearly a better team, obviously, but when you go in there thinking you have it in the bag and you're playing a team with house money, they smacked them in the mouth. And they smacked them in the mouth, and they didn't know what to do. And for the first time all year, Michigan didn't play Michigan football. And again, this is why they're not playing Monday night.
Yeah. Well, and then again, coaching under pressure, you get to you start to try and get cute and just like you clam up, and Ryan Day did the same thing. So,
and you're right, Robbie. You're not going to get away with it against these good teams. You're not going to get away with making the mistakes, the stupid trick plays. We'll get them next drive. No, because they turn around and shove it down your throat, and
you don't have time to catch up.
Yep.
Yeah. Tom, do you see Randall's request over there in the private chat?
I tried to put him in.
Okay. We'll go on while you do that. All right. So do you guys want to do Monday's picks now, or is that going to be more of a Bet Your Nuts segment?
QB, you're in. I got you in.
What's up, boys? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, buddy?
Actually, we're gonna put the championship picks down to the back. So let's talk about, and we'll be brief on this subject. We've been 30 minutes on this. What were you guys' overall view on the bowls in general from December 16th or 15th, whenever it started, up until Tuesday or Monday after Sunday football, so the 2nd? Randall, you're new. You want to start about this?
Oh, I don't know if I'm exactly new. I think I've been around a while. Sorry, I don't have. You couldn't see me. I'm in my car, but I just wanted to jump in. The bowls in general. I found the New Year's Six bowls very clarifying to the status of conference and who is the power within college football, who the elite is of college football. I agree with Tom. I think Michigan losing is on Michigan. I think they underplayed that game. But I found the bowls, especially the New Year's Six bowls, really revealing this year. I think Alabama came to play, Tennessee came to play. I think we all undersold the Tulane team that beat USC. Couple of games that wasn't on that main slate. Florida's continued struggles, I think, illustrate.
Oh, good God!
Good God! Did they even show up for that game? I mean, it was atrocious.
That was a horrible matchup when you have a top 15 teams playing Florida too. I thought it was interesting too. I think Texas may have laid one of the biggest overall eggs of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas started with all this momentum, started with all this, this is where we changed Texas. This is where we changed Texas around. And I think even the show that Steve Sarkisian put on, entering the field, where he was just a complete ass security guard.
Idiot.
We're going to get to Chris Beard later, who's his career is in jeopardy. That was just as not just as ugly, obviously, but that was an ugly scene, and Texas needs to look at this.
Texas is in trouble a little bit.
But Robbie, to sum up everything, I think I finally see the next wave of the 40-something and the early 30 coaches that are going to lead this down the road. I think our guy Heupel's in it. I think Lincoln Riley's in it. I think the guy at Tulane's in it. I think Leopold at Kansas is in it. There is a lot of talented coaches.
Leopold's a little older, though, isn't he? He's in his late 50s.
We're just getting there, I guess, in my head, too. But there's just a lot of talented coaches right now that may not be in the mainstream. And I think college football needs it.
Brandon, what were your thoughts overall on bowls? Favorites, worst? What do you think?
The whole Florida situation, that was just atrocious. I mean, I don't even know if they were even entertained to try and play that game. Obviously, you don't want to play Air Force in a bowl game. Sorry for Baylor on that one. That was just another run down your throat, triple option beat down. You just don't play those teams, right? Like triple option, just not good.
You don't know how to prepare for them.
No, you never do. And the USC Tulane game, Lincoln Riley has got a small window, one more year with his quarterback, which is a potential generational talent. Like, this dude's really legit. He's really good. I'm not a fan of the guy, but I respect his talent. But they've got to fix that defense. I mean, it's absolutely atrocious, and that's what bit him in the end. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, I felt he's on his way up. Like, we counted him out early in the season. He lost several.
Now they got a quarterback.
They really stepped it up. I think he got his feet kind of grounded a little bit and pulled in the rain. So I'm anxious to see what they actually do, and if Notre Dame can be somewhat legit. which I mean they were this year. Don't get me wrong. And then the UCLA Pitt game was another close one, and Pitt's one of those just hard nosed, like don't skip over them team. Like they're gonna punch you in the mouth, and they're just all will, and that was another good game. But overall, I think it was a pretty good bowl season this year.
We just got breaking news for fantasy people and gamblers. The Bills-Bengals game has not been postponed. It has been canceled. And so they will not be replaying that. They haven't announced how they're going to do the playoffs from that. I assume it's going to be winning percentage, but it has been canceled.
I heard a little nugget today that there's a potential for an 8th wild card team in the playoffs.
I saw that too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about this later. We'll talk. But yeah, that's odd to me.
Should have let me know. I've got breaking news music queued, ready to go.
Sorry.
Yeah, that would have been.
Hey,
rookie host.
Private chat.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, damn it! I didn't think about the breaking news. All right. So, Tom, what are your thoughts about the bowl games?
Well, first off, I think bowl games have become completely irrelevant. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, the kids that you want to see play aren't playing unless they're playing for something. And I just think that takes away from the game. I had a conversation over the weekend with somebody. Like, listen, you're going to sign up for this team, and that means you're going to play from day one, and you're going to play in the bowl game. And if you can't do that, then that's never going to happen. But I just think there was a couple games where like their third and fourth string quarterback was playing. Like, who's this guy? And and I just think that kind of takes away from the lore of bowl season. But there were some good games. I agree with Brandon. I think Notre Dame really took a next step. And now that they've got their quarterback who's like in his 15th year coming out of Wake Forest.
It's like Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. So I think their potential is pretty wide. And here's a team that baffles me. Penn State played in the Rose Bowl on Monday. They took it to Utah. And this is a team that Michigan absolutely mollywopped when they played them. Ohio State beat them. Those are their only 2 losses. And cannot figure out them for the life of me. And Franklin usually, lays an egg in these big games. But he had that team ready to go. So it'll be interesting to see next year what's the quarterback position going to look like now that
in a huge away game. You saw the crowd.
Oh,
it was
70% Utah fans. So it'll be interesting to see, the quarterback position now that their quarterback, who's graduated in his 14th year with Penn State. So they've got Michigan at home next year, so that'll be a good matchup for them. But Tulane, what they were able to pull off in the last couple minutes, you want to talk about a team that was not afraid. And you have to look at Caleb Williams played, and he played really well.
He threw for like 400 and something yards and 5 touchdowns or something. Like,
so to say that
it's the defense.
It's 100% the defense. And to say that Tulane got lucky because they played the Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah. And they didn't, they got down, I think, like 3 touchdowns at one point, and they just kept battling and battling. Yeah. So there's a team that last year was 2-10. They win the Cotton Bowl. So there's a lot of teams out there that you look, they're not going to wow you with the NIL. They're not going to lure these kids in. They're just going to go out there and battle. And I think this is where coaching really makes the impact. Like you said, these younger type coaches that can relate to these players, that's going to make a big difference with these schools that they're not going to bring out, they're open their pocketbooks for the NIL deals. So I think we got to look at potential teams next year that are going to make some noise. So it overall, bowl season's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
which I think
Tom
we can.
froze a little bit. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year to me was one of the best bowl seasons that I can remember, and partly because the NBA scheduling people are idiots, and I'll get to that. But I thought we had, the OU, like OU losing, Florida State have a losing season, Texas losing. That Kansas Arkansas game was great. Pitt UCLA was great. That I won't get into the Iowa Kentucky disaster. The UCLA Tulane game was great. Unfortunately, the Mississippi State game had such great storylines. I was invested. I do
think
think
Texas
this.
Tech showed out more for
Texas
Leafs
Tech
and
showed up. But to me, it was every kind of day the college football ruled the broadcasting. And so I was more interested than I've ever been. And then, and I'll say this: if Alabama was in this tournament, I still think they win this thing. They looked good. But going to my obsession of ratings, and this is not on topic, the NBA could not have screwed the pooch more. You're really going to put your marquee game on Sunday against the NFL? I don't know one outcome that day. Didn't watch a minute of the NBA, and I usually love that NBA.
Who watches the
on
NBA
Christmas
anymore?
Day.
It's the most unwatchable sport on the planet.
Oh yeah, and
I'd rather watch curling than the NBA.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think my love for the bowl games is increasing more because college basketball is kind of on a break, and I like the NBA less and less all the time, and so it's filling that void.
Yeah, I was an NBA guy, for a few years in a row, and this year I just cannot get into it. I don't know. I've lost faith in a lot of things, and like you said, scheduling, the timing. I have no interest. So
the NBA died in 2005.
So real quick, I was hoping Raj was going to be here, but still trying to be Speaker of the House.
He's going for his second round ballot.
Lincoln Riley, now 10-3 his first year, lost to Tulane in Cotton Bowl, wherever they're in. So 10-3 looks a lot less than the playoff. With all those transfers, we still high hope in him, or is it kind of we'll see how it happens?
So let me add something to that, because I've been thinking a lot about Lincoln Riley and his future at USC. I think Lincoln Riley is in a position to have to prove himself in the postseason. He is 1-4 now, losing in 3 playoffs, losing a New Year's Six bowl. He's lost. He lost the Pac-12 championship game. He is an elite coach. But you remember, how many coaches have we seen have this almost championship struggle early in their career? I think Lincoln Riley gets it done.
Yeah,
I just think Lincoln Riley needs the level of competition that he's going to find in the Big Ten to get to that level to succeed. When you're a one-horse show like he's been in the Big 12, in the Pac-12, I think it's hard to figure out what you got to do to get to that next level. I actually think moving to the Big Ten will make him a better coach.
Well, I can tell you what you got to do. You got to have a defense.
Great segue. Great question, Randall. That's why you used to be the host of the show. Much better than me. One word answer. Who wins the first championship in the new Big Ten? Harbaugh, Riley, or Day?
Ryan Day. Ohio State's the better program.
Harbaugh's going to the NFL.
No, he's not.
I don't think so. This is a broken record around these parts in January. There's always the only team he wants to go to is the Panthers. And Tepper came out today and said, I gave Matt Rule way too much control, and that was my fault. Harbaugh doesn't go to the NFL unless he has full control. I think Michigan. Well, when does USC joins in 2 years? Right?
Next year.
Is it next season?
I believe.
I thought it was 24.
24 is going to be when it looks like 24 is going to be when Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC.
Okay.
So they're taking both of them.
I will say Harbaugh wins because to me, they've got a better team coming next year. Next year might be
Harbaugh's the first to win of the
Harbaugh because their team coming in on paper is their best team they've had in 3 years. So
Randall, who do you think?
I think it's Ryan. I think if I'm honest, just like if I went to the SEC, I would say Alabama wins the next championship because they're the best program. I still think Ohio State is the best overall program in the Big Ten.
Yeah, if Ryan Day gives up the offensive reins, even though he's a great offensive mind, don't get me wrong, but he just cannot manage that on top of everything else. So if we get a good offense coordinator in there and he actually can just focus on the head coach job, I think we're good.
If it goes to divisions, I like Riley because he's going to be in the West, and he will have less competition each year to get the championship.
Of course.
But if it goes to a singular, give me Ryan Day.
So I want to make a point. I think it takes USC a full recruiting cycle, 4 years, to get the type of players to win a championship out of the Big 12. I think that it has to be a new mindset because just like I said on another show this week, playing in Madison in October is different than playing in Palo Alto in October. So there's going to have to be a rebuilding of the USC roster, in my opinion.
I think
fair statement.
They got to recruit players for those conditions for sure.
Well, and can you recruit the defensive lineman you need and to say you're going to have to play 80 snaps a game as opposed to where you can go somewhere and play 60 snaps? That's a lot less injury opportunity when you're trying to get to the NFL. But we'll move on. So we have the NFL Week 18. We have some big games. We have Titans at Jags for a playoff spot. We have Detroit at Green Bay for a playoff spot. We have Baltimore at Cincinnati for seeding, and then we've already heard news that Buffalo versus Cincinnati has been canceled. It's not going to be replayed. So let's start with Randall. What do you think about specifically those 3 games? Any game you want to talk about? Titans, Jags, Detroit, Green Bay, Baltimore, and Cincy. So literally the glamour of the NFL.
I think we're seeing the coming of age of a superstar in the NFL in Trevor Lawrence. And I think he gets it done Saturday. And I'm not surprised to see this be a 5-year run in Jacksonville where championships, division titles come. But I think any success they can have this year sets them up for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel horrible for the Titans and Eddie George. I just don't think Malik Willis obviously isn't the right answer. Josh Dobbs, if he had been there week 1, might have got it done. What's the other game that's for a championship? Is it?
Seeding is the
Detroit and Green Bay's for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe and have
it's at Green Bay.
I've said all year that I think that Detroit is making the playoff.
You have, yeah.
So I'm going to double down, and we get to your bet your nuts. It's going to be money line, the Detroit Lions. The Buffalo Bills, I think it's going to be really hard for them to step on the field and play. Emotionally, it is. I don't know what's going to be there for the Buffalo Bills. I hate to even pick the game because the farthest thing from the Buffalo Bills' mind the last 72 hours has been football. I think they'll come together. I think they'll get it together, and I think they'll make a deep run in the playoffs. I'm just concerned this week of where the physical and mental condition of that roster from top to bottom is going to be. But give me the Jags, give me the Lions, give me the young Lions, and I don't know about the Bills. I'll defer to somebody else's opinion on that.
Yeah, and I'll touch base on that real quick, Randall. And like it's something for the group to think about. As scary as it was for Hamlin, is there a spot to think about? There's also safety, like what I mean with that is my heart stopped playing football, and these doctors, the twice, like these doctors, this medical staff, this billion-dollar company that I work for, they got me and they came to my rescue. And is there as scary as it was, is there also a safety net? Because like what I think about is if you fall off a mountain and someone catches you, you have that kind of, oh, okay, it's okay to do this. Like, is there any of that? I mean, because I went from Monday night to be like, oh my God, like, how are they going to recover from this? And I've started gradually being like, well, yeah, it makes sense that this is the medical profession that like, you go to Cincinnati, he goes to Cincinnati Medical.
One of the best facilities in the country.
And I hate to make things about money, but I don't care what the tab is. I don't like, you get every doctor that can be here, and we will write this check. Like,
and that's what the NFL does. Like, the only better place you could fall down in that situation or have a cardiac arrest would be in hospital or at their doorstep. Like, that's how great the care was. And it's proven to be so. That's what everyone's saying, even his father, what's coming out as of late.
Yeah.
Seconds in that matter are precious and change the outcome. And, just hats off to the entire medical field. And let's give the NFL a little credit because they get bashed a lot.
Yes,
and especially after the fact, who knew what the situation was when they were like 5 minutes to get ready to play, blah, blah, we didn't know what was going on. Anyway, there's still a business at the end of the day. And who knows what was going on, but they had top-notch medical staff there that saved potentially. I mean, he's in the, I don't know if he's in the clear, but he's up and up right now. It could have been a death on the field if not the reaction they had, and just kudos to them for that. And to your point, Robbie, I mean, that's just, when you have that kind of staff, you feel like it's somewhat of a safety net. Like, okay, but you don't prepare for that. That was a freak accident, a cardiac arrest. You very rarely. I mean, we've never seen it in our lifetime. I haven't, but I mean, you see, concussions and ACLs and Achilles and all this stuff happen, and people get up, they get on stretcher, thumbs up, or whatever. But this shook us all for sure.
Yeah,
we had a situation. We had a situation here in Detroit about within the last 15 years. As a player, Yuri Fisher, he was 25. He does a shift. He comes back on the bench, and he falls forward. He literally died on the Red Wings bench, and they were able to jumpstart his heart on the bench. And unfortunately, he never played again for the Red Wings, and he was a huge prospect for them. And then even years before that playoff game, Chris Pronger played for the Blues. He took a puck, had the same situation happen. He had a court. The puck hit him right in the chest, and then a few seconds after it hit him, he dropped and he was unconscious. Never played again. So there's been instances of that happening, but not in that broad spectrum of Monday Night Football. and to see these Warriors,
biggest Monday night football game of the year,
and to see these Warriors absolutely beside themselves. The image that I'll never forget is Josh Allen, like the look on his face. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to see.
No, just the whole. Well, I think they did a really great job of the entire like circle around him to keep his privacy and like the media out, and
need to
because
get any
people,
pictures
vultures were there. Everyone was there trying to, see what was going on, and that's a personal, private issue, and kudos to the Bengals and the Bills for doing that, because that was, we didn't need to see what in a world of what can you do now for, like, we didn't need to see all that, and that was, and I mean you could see it on their faces, like this was different. This was completely different than any other injury that we've seen on the field.
And I want to players on the field, media. I want to give a kudos to Ryan Clark from ESPN. I don't know if you guys saw him. He, like someone who suffered a life-threatening disease and he wanted to play, and him with Tomlin talking about it, and then just a great job of just talking about what they go through.
That whole ESPN crew from Troy and Joe Buck in the booth to I'm not a fan of Booger McFarland, but you really could catch the emotion in him. And what do you say in these instances? What can you say? They got to keep rolling. They got to keep live.
Production's on, but
Absolutely.
You saw like former players, like how much it touched them, and like what was what they're feeling in a locker room, and if that's your brother on the field, like you really got that emotion from them, and it was completely unscripted, and you really got to see that raw emotion, which I thought,
even today on PTI, Steve Young, even after we've had positive news, was still tore up about it. And he was like, it's been a rough week. Like, you can't imagine that happening. And then it does. And it's like, well, could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, that's what it's a freak accident. Like I was even saying, like it looked like a tackle that I've seen 1,000 times. Like I've seen, people get hit, people get ran over, and and he even he got up. I didn't even know who was hurt. I didn't, because as soon as he stood up, they panned away on the TV, and you didn't see who. And then all of a sudden, there's someone on the ground, and even at that point, Joe Buck was like, "I think that's Hamlin down. Like we're not sure who it is, and just so strange. Like it wasn't like a big, like I would have thought that a targeting call where someone gets their head knocked off would be more of a bad situation than that, and that it's just a complete freak accident.
Well, and I think that was the most scary part about it was it wasn't a head, it wasn't a neck, it wasn't knees. It was just a clean tackle. Everything looked normal, and he stood up, and then he just collapsed. And then I guess the players just saw the lifelessness go out of him, and that's.
You saw the medical personnel come over to him, and you could see immediately the look on their face. They're like, and they start running, and they're waving their arms, and then you look on the ground, and you see the guy's not moving his legs. Like, this is bad. And I remember right before they went to break, I said to my wife, I said, this isn't good. He's not moving. And then they go to break and come back, and then obviously it took off from there. So,
when they showed the replay, and it's just because no one knew what was going on at that time, and it was just like he stood up, and then he falls down. It was like, what? Like he just passed out, like out of nowhere. Like it was just a complete freak accident.
Well, we all wish their family well.
Prayers to them for sure.
Yes. And then It's a hard segment. We kind of got off on it before we wanted to, but we're going to jump into Lions and Packers now. Tom, give us a breakdown. Beat the Packers.
Well, they beat them earlier in the season. And two folds here. Yeah, Aaron didn't have he had his receivers, but I don't think they had felt comfortable in his offense. Detroit was able to pull it off. Now Detroit has a big-time weapon on defense who's now playing in his 7th game Sunday night. He has 8 sacks as a rookie, 6th-round draft pick out of Jackson State, James Houston. This guy has hit the ground absolutely running. You put Aiden Hutchinson on the other side. Those bookends with the other 6th-round draft pick, Malcolm Rodriguez, old Rodrigo. Detroit's got a better defense than they did earlier in the season. So that's a plus for the Lions. The thing that scares me is you saw what happened in Carolina. They went down to Carolina, and this is the reason why we're in a win or die situation now. They go to Carolina, and they play completely different than what they do at home. This is a different team on the road compared to at home. How bright are these lights on Sunday night? Will this young team be able to, step up to the challenge? I don't worry about Jared Goff. I really don't. I don't really worry about the run game because they've kind of proven the tight end game has been really solid. But I just worry that Green Bay's got a solid group there in the secondary. And this is the time for Aaron Rodgers to shine. And if they win, they're in. And it scares me to the high heavens. So with that being said, I don't like the Lions' chances this week because it's a road game. And I'm not sure if this young Lion team can step up to the challenge, can meet the challenge of going on the road Sunday night. This is their first primetime game in 2 years at Lambeau Field. I mean, it's a tall task for the Lions. It really is. If they can play mistake-free football, they have a chance. If they can get to Aaron Rodgers, it's proven this year, if you can get to him, he makes mistakes. His receiver corps are really young. So
what's your confidence level? 1 to 10. What are the Lions looking at?
A 5. It's a 5. It's going to be a battle of who turns the ball over more. And I know that's the old adage, the old coach.
What if they were playing at Detroit? What would be your confidence level?
Oh, it'd be a 9. It'd probably be a 9. A 9.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean,
I wish they were playing in Detroit. I'd get my retirement money off of this game.
Look at how they played 2 weeks ago in Carolina. They played like complete dog crap, and then look at how they played last week. That was it was the Bears, but still they dismantled the Bears. They shut down Justin Fields in the second half. So at home, they're dangerous. The crowd is loud.
All right, enough of you. I think I'm not sure if we ever.
Lions lose by field goal.
I'm never sure if we got to the Titans Jags pick from Brandon. Brandon, who you got for that game?
Jags all day. Titans
6.5 point favorites.
Titans are on a free fall downward, and maybe we'll get a better draft pick. That's all I have to say.
Have you ever heard of a team leaking that their offensive coordinator is getting fired before essentially a playoff game?
It's a whole nother fiasco distraction. Like, I think they want to lose this game. That's my feeling, honest feeling. Like, you don't do that. Like, you have one game left, and you're not going to win this one anyway. So why would you?
I'm not saying I disagree with that, but this playoff game is a home playoff game. That's a lot of revenue for Amy Adams.
to go get embarrassed where all our fans get mad and are not going to want to spend the money. We're not going to want to spend the money anyway for the new stadium, but anyway, it's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Listen,
That's a whole nother show.
I'm so mad at the Titans right now. Like, it's just it. I mean, no offense to you Balls fans, but we're starting Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was gonna say the same thing. The fact that it's week 18 and it's a winner get in, and we're starting a quarterback that's been there for 10 days.
Good God.
He might be
there's zero chance
there in 3 years. That's all I'm going to say.
What?
I said he might be the best quarterback that's been there in the last 3 years. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, no.
What does that say about Malik Willis?
No, Tannehill's better than Dobbs. Come on.
That was Randall's #1 draft pick overall.
Tannehill's way better than Dobbs. That's not even close.
Randall, what happened to your #1 overall draft pick, Malik Willis, and how's he not starting in week 18 against the Jags?
Because I get a paycheck from a place called Man and Hummel, not an NFL team. I mean, when you listen, you get a Man and Hummel opinion.
All right, Randall, 2 picks. Who do you like? Titans, Jags, Lions, Pack.
I've already picked the Jags. I'm staying with it. I just want to make the point that I may be the only real Lions fan on this show. So I'm picking
shots fired.
Detroit Lions to win the game.
Now, okay. I didn't get my Lions Packers pick, by the way.
Shoot.
Brandon, what do you want?
And it's the Packers.
Randall,
Aaron, go ahead.
If you've endured years, decades of disappointment from the Pontiac Pussycats, you would probably feel the same way as I do.
He knows. He's a Vols fan. He's
1991. I remember this game.
Listen, buddy, I'm a Falcons fan.
The last time they won a playoff game.
I'm a Falcons fan. I've endured pain that no human should have to endure. So
You've been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You've been to a Super Bowl. I haven't.
No. Hey, they've lost 2 Super Bowls. They lost one up 28-3 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter.
We lost to the GOAT.
Don't bring that stuff up.
We just lost our host. Where did he go?
I don't know. He got
Randall, you took him off.
All right, boys. So that's enough NFL talk. So now we have to get a little serious. We got a little serious with Hamlin, and hopefully that's on the upswing of things.
Yeah, he opened his eyes last night, from what I heard. So
yes, and he's communicating. He's been writing. He asked if they won.
All good news.
He knew he was playing football, and so that's
he said who won. Yeah.
And then we don't have the link. I'm not sure we have that capability, but there is a GoFundMe. To search his name and GoFundMe. It's a Kids for Toys for Kids kind of thing. Please donate if you can. If you can't,
absolutely
share the link for someone else to donate. So
do what you can.
From on that sad note, onto a serious societal note. Texas basketball fired Chris Beard, a very successful coach who took Texas Tech to the championship game. He's taken Texas to the tournament a few years now, and he is fired over allegations of domestic violence, specifically strangulation of a human, which in non-legal terms means he tried to strangle another person to death, allegedly. Texas, this happened back before Christmas, if I believe correctly. He is fired with cause. He has been on suspension without pay. This is typically what happens when the lawyers have to get involved and make sure the wording is right to fire him for cause, so they don't have to pay his contract. Guys, we are all men in this. I wish we had a female perspective. Maybe we'll get one day on the show. as soon as Randall gets back in the office and starts working instead of just visiting us via phone. But one, what are your thoughts on the firing? Was it justified? And where does Texas go from here? Tom? You're on mute.
Yep.
Oh.
Obviously, it's justified. I mean, anytime you put your hands on a woman, I mean, all bets are off. There's no.
Well, wait, let me back up. Let me back up. Sorry. Before we start talking, these are allegations. There's no conviction. This is just simply but the university found enough in their investigation to move forward. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, he, obviously he was arrested for it. He spent the night in jail. So as a university, you don't want that cloud hanging over your head because you're opening yourself up to a lot of controversy. A lot of women's rights groups are gonna boycotting, and it's just gonna be a bigger issue. I guess the problem I have, and maybe you can clear this up, since you're the resident attorney of the Reckless Speculation broadcast. What was Texas's reasoning for taking so long? He should have been fired immediately, in my estimation. Was it a situation where they were building evidence, where they were trying to get as much information as they could, or because it just seemed to me like the more and more this thing went on, the likelihood of him maybe staying on as their head coach could have been the case. But I just don't know what took Texas. Maybe it was, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, but it had to happen. And no matter how good of a coach he is, there's never going to be a parent that's going to allow him to walk into their house and say, I want to, I'm going to be there for your child. You can trust me for the next 4 years. It's just never going to happen. And so in that regard alone, they had to get rid of him. And so it's the absolute right and necessary move.
Yeah. To answer your questions the best I can. My thoughts were the same as yours was, fire him immediately. And then let the lawyers handle it out in the back end. But I don't know Texas state laws and their employment laws and what his contract was. My guess is the firing was always the end game, but it was, let's get our ducks in a row so we don't have to pay him, and he has no grounds to sue, and we don't want to negotiate. Even I think he was owed 35, 36, 30-something $million. The length of his contract, and we don't want to even pay him $10 million or $5 million. We want to get it to where it's ironclad as possible, because his fiance, and this is allegedly, all accounts are from what we've heard from the news. She recanted her story, but look, there was enough, and I don't want to be jaded, but I also want to be very, very real with what happens. There was enough there that a Austin police officer arrested the head coach of the University of Texas, who is probably at least a top 6 person
equivalent to like Saban in Texas.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much, but I mean the top 6 people, top 6 people in the Texas state government. So there's more than just, I called 911 and then I was just kidding. Like, that wasn't the fact. And so once, and this is very sensitive, because there's financial reasons, there's safe reasons, there's a lot, and I don't want to be insensitive. But yeah, she recants her story, but there's a whole hell of a lot of incentive for her to do that. And she shouldn't have to, because if you were harmed, just tell the truth. But that's not legal advice, just going that way. But so, Brandon, what do you think? Should he have been fired, and what do you think's next?
Yeah, I mean, it's, these situations are always tricky. I haven't read or enough to really speak knowledgeable about it. I just know, from a standpoint, if, like you said, and that was a good point that kind of pushed me over the edge there. If there was enough evidence there where they actually arrested this guy, something was going on, and it was probably bad. So anytime you put your hands on a woman, I don't care what it is, who you are, it's just absolutely wrong. And especially in this, his position where he's at, like, you have to cut ties with that. Like, you don't want any part of that. It's just, it's a sad thing to see. And unfortunately in athletics, it gets a little bit more of a spotlight. Let's be real here. This happens every day, all the time, all around the world. It's just, when you're a spectacle, like a head coach or something, these people are human too, and they make mistakes and they do bad things. It just gets brought to light a little bit more often. But yes,
it's usually not a $30 million mistake.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, this could be Joe Blow with his fiance and Waco, and who cares?
Well, and Randall, I'll go to you and then I'll share my own story about how this can happen and it not be something. But Randall, go ahead.
Not to bear out my private life, but you can be accused of something and be very innocent in that situation. And I think over the summer or over the fall, we saw a Tennessee football player be accused of assault on another student and suspended for multiple games that played out to be nothing. I think whatever happens to Chris Beard cannot be greater than that would happen to a student. And I think in most situations, the first reaction, if this would have been a student, a player of his, is to dismiss him from the program. I'm going to put my faith in the Austin police and say that if the Austin police and the University of Texas found the reason to dismiss and arrest a very high-profile, successful college basketball coach, there is enough evidence that me, as a normal citizen, probably would agree with him in his decision. So I'm going to put my faith in the process, and the process went correct. And if the process bears out that he laid his hands in the way he said on his girlfriend, not his wife, but his girlfriend, that he should be dismissed from his job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't want to compare, apples to oranges and different people, different situations. But yeah, if it's questionable, they're not doing that. And yeah, I try to share some of my personal stories and try to get personal. Back in, I don't know, 24, no, way before that, 26 or 27 or something like that. When my wife and I were living in Knoxville, we were going to just get some food, get late night food down at a Euro stand. And I wanted to walk the dog off the leash and she wanted to have the dog on the leash. And we were arguing about this on the leash, off the leash. And I guess we were talking too loudly, and like 6 cop cars come up.
Yeah.
And like they were there for what they thought a domestic violence thing was. They all come guns, they come ready. And then we're like, oh, we're just arguing about this. And they're like, oh, okay, no biggie. We'll just leave you. Oh, yeah, sorry, misunderstanding. Like, cops generally try to do the right thing. And so for them to arrest a person of that importance makes me think that
there had to be something bad. Yeah. And I'm not for this whole guilty until proven innocent stigma, which is what's been going on a lot lately.
Yeah.
But again, to your point, someone that high profile, they've got some strings they can pull. And if they got arrested, they were out of strings, and there was something legit hard evidence there. So
Yeah, probable cause.
on that, I defer to them, and like Randall said, and I agree with the decision.
All right, so 10 minutes left. Now that Texas has fired their coach, a premier basketball program heading into the SEC, which has now become a really good basketball conference. Tons of money coming their way. Randall, who do you think they go for, and who takes that job?
I just want to point out to Texas that you fired Rick Barnes several years ago, and
thank you, God. Thank you
for that gift that you gave the University of Tennessee, and we do appreciate it. Robbie, I think
you know what? I no longer dislike Texas because of that fact that they fired Barnes and he came to Tennessee.
Thank you, and I agree with you. I think there's some tarnish on that program after firing Barnes, hiring Shaka Smart, firing Shaka Smart in short order. Now you hire Chris Beard, and he's out the door on these charges. I think Texas, while they have unlimited resources and the ability to go get any coach they want, they may struggle a bit, but I think the best young coach in America is sitting down in Alabama right now. And if I had to make a hire, he would be my number 1, 2, 3, and 4 pick to run my program.
Do you think he would leave Alabama for Texas?
I don't know. I don't know. I think 5 years ago, leaving Alabama for Texas was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I don't know if in 2023, leaving Alabama for Texas is a no-brainer. Somebody's going to pick him up from Alabama, but it may not be Texas. So then the next option is go find a veteran coach that kind of fixes the integrity of your program. And
well,
that's
let me just ask you this: is Mark Few on the table?
That's the name I was actually going to. If you want to hire somebody that comes in with a sparkling reputation, a fixer, a person who's won at high level, Mark Few would have more resources at the University of Texas than he's ever had in his career. That's the name I'll throw out
there. I agree. You go for him. I don't think he would leave because he's never left. Alabama coach is interesting. I don't know if he leaves either, though. Tom, what do you think?
Well, I pulled up a list of coaches potentially. You've got down in Waco, you got Scott Drew, who, is that an upgrade? Is that a potential upgrade going to Texas?
No, not after the debacle we watched Scott Drew lay out in the past.
Yeah. Here's a blast from the past who would chomp at the bit to get an opportunity. Rick Pitino. He's coaching at Ionia.
He got cleared of all of his allegations too.
He's taken some heat. His son is an up and coming coach. But I looking at this list, really, that's the only one that I can see that if they're looking
who's third and fourth there.
Who's what?
Who's third and fourth on that list?
Well, they've got. Well, this is the top 100 college basketball coaches. Starts with Bill Self, and then third is Calipari, and then Kelvin Sampson.
No, Rick Pitino. I mean, if that's a home run, if they could get him.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they're going to want a coach that can come in and really make an impact and kind of keep them relevant. And I think this is an opportunity they need to pick me up, and Rick Pitino needs a school that can pick him up and put him back on the marquee. So to me, it's Rick Pitino. He'd jump at the bit.
The only thing is, does Texas stoop that low? Are they going to Auburn level? Will they do that?
It depends on how bad they want to win the program.
You're asking that, and Starks, their head football coach currently.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. All right, Brandon. I know you're not the biggest college basketball fan, but you got an opinion?
Thad Matta. Hire Thad Matta. That's all I got.
Jim Tomey. He looks just like Jim Tomey. Thad Matta.
I think they are going to go to the Arizona coach first, who his name slips my mind. I think they're going to go him first.
Arizona coach?
No, the current one, the Gonzaga assistant, who is in Arizona.
Yeah,
and then, man, Rick Pitino is out there. I don't know if Texas does it or not. And then I think they're going to be a flourishing program that floats around a lot because, man, like Randall said, Shaka Smart went there, high upgrade. Chris Beard went there. He won there some, but it's a high profile position. They moved to SEC, which is I don't know if it's tougher than the Big 12, but it's as competitive. But nonetheless, all right. So, boys, we have got Bet Your Nuts. If we can, let's focus on. I'm not handcuffing you, but what we got coming up next is we've got NFL and we've got the college football playoff championship game. So, Randall, start with you. What do you got? And how much you putting on it?
Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I'm going to give you two, since you brought it up. And this may not be the most popular pick in the world, but the Georgia Bulldogs are going to boat race TCU. The number is 13.5, and I think that's too low. So you give me the Bulldogs laying whatever, and I like the Bulldogs in the national championship game. The playoffs, laying 6 points. And Trevor Lawrence, I really, really think Trevor Lawrence is on the verge of becoming that back-end quarterback, that 6th or 7th best quarterback in the NFL, just right outside of the elite. And I think this is where he takes the step.
Do you have Malik Willis as number 8?
Desmond Ridder is number 9 too.
Well, let's look. That's an easy pick, though. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to go up a bunch of 2s and 3s here, so I mean that's not a hard task.
Yeah, the Titans. We're playing draft pick football at the end of the season. We should have been playing draft pick week 1, but
hey,
that is a good solid bet your nuts though, and that's on my list as well.
And the Falcons keep winning when we need to be losing to get a shot at CJ Stroud. Go ahead, and those are my two bet your nuts.
All right, Brandon, I'm
going, and I don't bet a lot like you guys, but Georgia's.
Are we parlaying this thing?
So I'm going to parlay it, and I am playing 50 bones on the Bulldogs laying 13.5. And that's probably the biggest bet I've made all year. So I really think the Dogs are going to clean the house of the TCU Horny Frogs.
All right, Tom, what do you got? Hey, wait. Before we start, do we have that mesmerizing logo ready to go of the Horned Frogs?
No.
What kind of program are we running here?
There's gonna be no Horned Frogs.
Hey, wait.
You're asking the guy that got beat by the Horned Frogs. Like,
yeah. Hey.
It's the last thing he wants to put up.
Hey. Before
that memo must have went to my spam box.
Before Chain speaks, can we get the breaking news?
Breaking news? Oh, you want the?
Yeah. Well, not before you. You're just going to talk about the Lions and nonsense.
Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my.
Yeah.
Just in. breaking news. The Titans are going to lose the last game of the season to the Jaguars. We had a clear 4-game lead early in the season, and now we are playing Josh Dobbs. Again, you heard me right. Josh Dobbs as the starting quarterback. So bet your nuts on the Jags -6, -12. I don't care what it is. Take the Jags. Titans are done.
This is the same team that traded AJ. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Well, we're in a free fall. Listen, that's my back end bet your nuts. That's an easy pick. I'm gonna get to the real bet my nuts here. Big game I like. Ravens, Bengals. This is gonna mean a seeding situation here, and a lot of people are on the Ravens right here, +7. I like the Bengals, and I'll tell you why. They are in form, and not to be insensitive, but that game in the Bills, they won the ball, they took the ball, they drove down, they scored, and they were making moves. I had money on the Bengals that game, that they were going to win it. Obviously that one's canceled, but I like the Ravens. Who knows even if Lamar plays, who cares? Doesn't matter. Give me the Bengals -7. And my second favorite pick is the Green Bay Packers. Sorry there, Tom. Lions, I love them. I hope the Lions win. Aaron Rodgers has done absolutely dog crap for me all year in fantasy. He decides to show up in a consolation game where it doesn't matter and scores, it was only like 20 points, but more points than he scored the entire season. But give me Green Bay. They're on a heater. Offense is clicking. Defense is great. Lions are on the road. Love Green Bay. So I would parlay all three of those and sprinkle a little on that. But I'd hit hard on the Bengals and Titans.
Against the Titans.
I'm against the Titans.
Well,
100%.
All right.
Sprinkle Titans. I'll make clear that nobody tuned in late, didn't hear your advice.
Yeah. No, against the Titans, 100%.
Thanks for clearing that up. That's kind of stuff that will kill our reputation.
All right, Tom.
All right. Well, I'm going to go down to the city of brotherly love for my Bet Your Nuts. New York is getting 14 points against the Eagles, who just lost at home against the New Orleans Saints. Give me the Giants to cover. I think the Eagles will probably win. I think Jalen possibly will play. We'll see. I guess it all depends on, are they going to have the number 1 seed or whatnot? But I still think in the NFL, 14 is it.
That's a lot of points.
To a playoff team. Playoffs!
And Danny Dimes is on fire, man.
Come on. And
I love that pick.
You got Thibodeau doing the snowman next to a long dong Nick Foles. And
Nick Foles is injured.
He's squirming on the field like a dead fish, and here's Thibodeau like la-di-da-di-da-di-da. I mean, come on. But 14 points to a playoff? Dude, playoff? Give me the Giants to cover. And then a bonus nut. These nuts. We're going to go to the Mile High City.
Well
where, the lowly Broncos, led by a quarterback that has more bathrooms in his house than he has touchdown passes, they are giving the Chargers, who are in the playoffs, 2.5 points.
Chargers all day.
This one boggles me. Give me the Chargers all day. I understand.
We're not going through everyone's bet book. What's your Bet Your Nuts?
I just said the Chargers.
He said Chargers.
We're not parlaying
He gave
this
2.
thing unless
He
I did
gave
too.
2.
I
That's
got,
all he
I
did.
got, hey,
okay.
All right,
I got
Robbie, go
2
ahead.
nuts.
Your turn.
I-
All right,
I got 2 nuts.
I'm bringing it back to the basics. I'm not killing my 2 nuts on 1 week. I'm just going with 1. Look, I think Georgia's going to win, but that point spread's ridiculous. TCU's a fighting team. They've been in battles all week long. I'm going to take TCU plus the 13 plus 12.5. I don't talk as much as these guys do. So, yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's my bet your nuts. TCU. They will cover on Monday. They won't win. I think Georgia wins the back-to-back, and then I'll save this my last remarks for my closing.
Makes me sick.
All right, boys. Closing remarks. QB 1/boss who just comes in here and just bosses us around, shows up late, doesn't even get his video on. We're happy to serve at your command. What do you got to say?
Hey, I was recording a wrestling show. The wrestling show reappears Saturday night here on RiverCity-Media. Believe it, it returned.
And hopefully we're getting NASCAR coming in early February.
And golf. And
yeah,
started today. It started today.
You just work with your producer over there. But I do
start today.
I do have something. I've been gone for several weeks, and I've got to talk about something that's real near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to take a minute, which usually I don't, but and it's about a player. And I want to mention, and I'm sure, and I've been watching you guys, and I've heard several very well put Hendon Hooker stories and what Hendon Hooker has done for this program. Hendon Hooker to the University of Tennessee has been a godsend. And, you know, we talk about what winning football is worth to the university. As a season ticket holder, as somebody for the last 15 years that have went up there and sat through some of the worst football I've ever been seen, I just want to make the point that even though Hendon got hurt in the South Carolina game, not win a Heisman or not lose a Heisman, 20 years from now, I think we'll look back at this time period at the University of Tennessee and we'll find that this is the point where things kind of changed and kind of got in a different direction. Hendon Hooker lost the starting job at Virginia Tech. He did not win the starting job at the University of Tennessee. He did not jump back in the portal and leave. He got his degree from Virginia Tech. He made a graduate transfer. He went to Tennessee, lost the battle, stayed at the school. You know, we talk about the portal a lot. There's a lot of credit that needs to go to this young man to lose a highly public quarterback battle and stay. To leave a school and go to another school in the middle of the coach being fired. It's a sad way that I saw Hendon Hooker in this season, but I have a feeling that Hendon Hooker is going to make a lot more money in the NFL than any of us dreams right now. And me, as someone that bleeds orange, it has been so enjoyable to go up to Knoxville and watch football that means something. So I just want to send a shout out to Hendon Hooker, Josh Heupel, all 84 scholarship players at the University of Tennessee. Money is up. Giving is up. Season ticket sales are up. Josh Heupel better be getting him a raise. The whole spirit around the University of Tennessee is different because football is different. So thank you to everybody involved, and specifically one guy that had the guts to stay when a lot of people would have jumped back into the portal. So shout out to Hendon Hooker.
Well said. Well said. Brandon?
Final words. Man, it's been a hell of a year in football. It's been fun. College has been great. we're closing in on NFL finals here and Super Bowl. You know, we've seen some great things. We've seen some bad things. You know, the thing we saw Monday night was horrific. Things are getting better for him, and you know, hopefully he can function in life properly again. You know, not even thinking about football, just being functionable and, you know, having a good life. So aside from the sentimental part of that, no, I've enjoyed this year, and it sucked that Ohio State lost and all that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go down that road. Titans suck. I'm a bitter old man. Football's terrible. Now I'm going down a spiral.
Sounds like Detroit.
Yeah, you know, you give and you take, but no, it's been fun, and I've enjoyed this year with you boys. Or this past year, this is the start of a new year. You know, the addition of Tom, he's been great. Everything you bring to this show and to the table is phenomenal. Knowledge, your wit, everything is great. And you know, sometimes I just like to talk more, boys. That's all. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Love y'all. It's been great. Love it.
Tom, what about you?
Well, I appreciate those kind words, Brandon. It means a lot, and I'm definitely glad that I'm part of this group, and it's challenged me to be, you know, more productive, more on my toes with certain things. I've had to pay attention to the SEC, but anyways,
It's a headache. Welcome to where I live.
such is life. At least I'm not in the middle of it. But what I want to talk about is how exciting it is around here to talk about the Lions. There is so much energy behind the Detroit Lions playing in a meaningful game in January. That doesn't happen very often. And I just have to tip my cap to a guy that I think a lot of people, absolutely, a lot of people, myself included, last year really had some question marks as to, is he the right fit? Well, this year has proven he is absolutely the right fit. That's not me, by the way.
That's the boss over there.
Yeah, gosh.
But he has been able.
Only.
What he has been able to get out of his players, a lot of these guys that he took off the trash heap, the Khalif Raymonds, Josh Reynolds, and then Brad Holmes getting a lot of these late draft picks. It's been nothing short of a miracle as far as production goes. And it only, you know, I don't think they'll win this week. I think they'll miss out on the playoffs. But going into next year, I don't think there's a team that has more upside in the NFL than the Lions. And I really think that you're going to see a lot of free agents saying, I want to be a part of that. Like, I want to be on the side. I want to play for that coach. Dan Campbell's like the Kool-Aid man. Oh, yeah, I want to bust through walls. I mean, that's what players are going to want to do to play for him, because he's a motivator. Yeah, man, this is such a great game, man. But it's exciting to be able to talk meaningful football in January and legit have a chance at the playoffs, starting 1-6, and they're 7-3 cents. It's been cool to see, and around town, everybody's just jazzed up. You see Lions paraphernalia everywhere, and it's cool times. It's cool times that we're not used to around here. And fact of the matter, Detroit's been pretty bad as far as sports teams goes. This is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and I wish
your Hard Knocks would be this coming year instead of last year. But.
yeah, they might want to do a special, because that was awesome. But I mean, that was a big push for them. I think a lot of people looked at them like, yeah, these guys are exciting and young, and when they finally figured it out, they've been good. So. Final words, MCDC, the knee biter. I love the guy. He's warm the hearts of everyone in this city and around the country. So I'm pulling, but man, it's a good story, and I'm proud to be a Detroit Lion fan.
Well said. Well said. Well, I will start this way. I should have started it. Please go down and like and subscribe to our buttons down below. That should have been said at the beginning. Failure on my part. The boss is going to dock my pay for that. But anyways, so I'll give you my final thoughts. And this isn't about sports. This is about our show. When we started this, I was like, oh, yeah, it'll be fun during football season and March Madness because that's what I care about. Now I'm like, oh, not that I'm happy football season is ending and then March Madness coming on, but I'm actually looking more forward to those summer months when it is, hey, let's just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Like, yeah, we'll throw in some baseball that Brandon and I don't know about, and then we'll just, but then there's also these topics like, hey, let's get into X or Y and let's just have topics as friends. And so this is what the show was meant to be from the beginning, is friends talking about sports and now things. And I think we're going to get back into more of the things now too, and just and life in general, and as well all sports will always be the backbone. And I always appreciate that. But yeah, I don't want to ever rush football, and I don't ever rush college basketball. But yeah, this has been great. It's been a great football season, great college football season. We still have the NFL playoffs, but there's no downtime that I thought there was going to be. Like looking forward, like not looking forward to or dreading. Like I'm ready to go every week, and so I'm excited about it. And that excitement, I hope y'all share that, and I hope people that watch us or don't watch us or maybe just click on it for a second, just enjoy it. And we enjoy doing this, and thanks for whoever watches us. And yeah, and as long as Randall lets us keep doing it, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, that's well said, dude. It, like you said, it's meant to be a conversation amongst friends, and we just happen to put cameras on our faces. I mean, that's
It's really because we can't work. It's really because we can't work a conference call, and then we can just figure out YouTube. That's the only way we can do it.
Is Skype still a thing? Can we Skype?
Randall, any last words? Or are we going?
You just brought up we will. I'm taking some time away to build some other things for our channel, but we will have our NFL Draft Night special that we always have. We will have our NCAA Selection Sunday shows that we always have. 2 of my favorite days of the year. And those are coming up sooner than we think. So 2 great days. 2 days I enjoy being on here.
Hey, Randall, if you want to do, I will be in Knoxville for the Kentucky UT game. If you want to do a quick 20-minute pregame show, I'm down for that. Oh, sorry, we're still live. Anyways, good night. We can talk about this after the show. Cut the cameras. Thanks for watching.